Hello, today we've got confusing videos, so hard to explain. But what we gotta be doing is we're gonna look at cars that were like the Speed 6 of the time, and then comparing them to their new cars to see, how much more percent power it's got, how much faster it's become, to then look at the Speed 6 and see how much more power would it have, how much faster it would be if the Speed 6 was released today by Mazda. Probably doesn't make sense. Hopefully you'll work it out once we start, which you should. Let's go. So I've done a video like this with the Mazdaspeed 3, I'll link that down in the comments below if you want to learn about what a Gen 1 Speed 3 would be like if it was released today with modern figures. So what cars have we used to compare them against? Well, I want cars are obviously very similar, performance orientated, all-wheel drive sedans or practical cars. Let's run you over cars I've chosen. So first of all, the Audi S3. It is smaller, but it's got very similar performance. A car that's a similar size, the Audi S4, all-wheel drive, similar size sedan. Then we've got a car that is the Golf R. Again, performance is very similar, it's all-wheel drive, it's practical, and the Speed 3s were always put against the Golfs, so this should be pretty interesting. And I found one car with similar power and similar size. It's the V6 Commodore. Now my non-Australian and New Zealand viewers are like, what the hell is it? Well, to you guys, it's a Chevy SS with a V6. It's got similar power to the Speed 6. Now, acceleration, all that is a bit behind, but it's also a similar size. And the last car we've got, the WRX, needs no introduction. Ideally, I would have used a Legacy GT, but unfortunately today we don't have a Legacy GT in production, so we have to, yeah. But let me do this with the horsepower, hopefully then you'll really get the idea of what we're trying to do. So let's start then with the Audi S3. Back in 2006, it had 260 horsepower. Now in 2020, 388 horsepower, which means that it increased 50% horsepower in all that time. The B7 Audi S4 increased 3%, the Golf R 32%, the Commodore increased 19%, and the WRX increased 13%. When you average that out, the Speed 6's power would increase by 23.5%, which means it would have 340 horsepower if it was released today. That is 10 more than the 2022 Mark 8 Golf R. Damn, hopefully you understand what's happening now, though I don't blame you if you don't, it's still really confusing. Now let's do that with torque. The S3 increased by 8%, the S4 71%. The Golf R increased by 35%, the Commodore 14%, and the WRX 15.5%, which means averaging it all out, the Speed 6's torque would increase by 28%. Now, how much torque does that mean it would have? It would have 360 pound-feet of torque. Wow, that's 60 more than an E92 V8 M3. In fact, that's only 30 less than, this V10 Audi R8. Its torque is similar with a V10 Audi R8 supercar than a V8 BMW M3. Wow. Now there's one thing you may realise. If we look back to the video we did like this for the Mazdaspeed 3, using all this fancy math, we worked out that a 2020 Speed 3 would have more than 340 horsepower and more than 360 pound-feet of torque. Not much more, but still. And obviously then if there's a 2020 Speed 3 and a 2020 Speed 6, the Speed 3 isn't going to have more power. Kind of weird. I think that's just simply because when we did the Speed 3 video, we had much more similar rivals to the car. We had your Focus RS and ST, your Golf R, your Civic Type R. They were very similar cars. I guess the hot hatches improved a lot faster than these bigger sedans. But now we need to talk about acceleration. 0 to 100 times, okay? averaging it all out, the Speed 6 would go from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds dead. 5 seconds! And it's a manual, right? That's 0.2 seconds faster than the equivalent manual Golf R. That's pretty damn quick. So we have to now go into quarter miles, and this is pretty good. Now when you average it all out, the quarter mile only increases by a bit over 6.5%. However, the quarter mile now is still done in 12.7 seconds. That's pretty damn fast. That's more in line with A45, and that thing's crazy. It just continues on pulling, is very, very good. And it does the same time as A45, which is dual clutch, and this does it with a manual. So that's some good work. Now weight, that's the thing that Speed 3 people don't really like about the Speed 6, is the weight. But however, when we look at this class of car, especially compared to the hot hatch class, weight hasn't really increased that much. You see the Audi S3, weight only increased by 2.7%, the S4, 0.5%, that's nothing. The Golf R 1.2%, nothing. The Commodore 1.7% and the WRX 7%. When you average that all out, the Speed 6 would be 2.6% heavier. So it would weigh 1,652 kgs. That's about the same as the F80M3, which is now out of production. And for a car of similar size, I think that's pretty acceptable, and we've got all-wheel drive. So these numbers are all pretty confusing. You know, they're less than the Speed 3. I guess the hot hatch market is a lot more competitive nowadays. But what do we have now? We have a car that has 10 more horsepower than a 2022 Golf R, has 60 more pound-feet of torque than a V8 M3, it's 0.2 seconds faster to 100 than a manual Golf R, and its quarter mile is as fast as A45, and it weighs as much as an F80 M3. But you know the thing that is so great about the Speed 6, and this is what I always say, it just does everything so well. You know, it's a JDM car, you know, it's more light and agile how it drives. It's got a big boot, the rear seats are really big. It's all-wheel drive, you can truly use this year-round with your whole family, with the big boot. It does everything really, really well. Because, you know, if you're in an A45 or a Golf R, they are just too small to, you know, have a family in and all that. And unreliable. And they don't drive in that traditional Japanese light spirit. But that's what the Speed 6 would be if it was released today. If you did enjoy, drop a like. If you didn't, dislike. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.